I'd like to do is a video on sword safety and ergonomics, and this is not just for my new students, but I'm going to do it universal so that if you're going to go train with a qualified sword instructor, you can take these principles and learn these principles and then change as it dictates by the style that you end up taking. Okay, the first thing I'm going to cover is how to hold the sword, because if you hold it this way with your thumb in front of the blade, if the blade comes out, the tendency for a new beginner is to push the thumb against the blade, and that would be obviously very bad. Now, some people get really good at it and they push their thumb away, but I think for a beginner that's not necessarily the best way to start. So the best way to start that I suggest is in the 10 and 2 position, because what you can do is if it happens to fall out, when you pinch, you grab the meat of the blade and you stay away from the sharp edge. So if it falls out, instead of putting your thumb down there, it's going to grab it like that. Okay, the next thing is holding the sword, because if you just hold the saya or the scabbard and you tip it, it can fall out. So I always suggest holding it this way, or if you're going to switch hands, hold it this way, where you're always holding the saya and you're always holding the suba when you're carrying around the dojo. Okay, the next safety is obviously pulling it out and putting it back are the most dangerous things you can do. So in talking about the blade, first of all, I highly recommend starting with a very dulled blade so that it's not sharp at all, just for safety. I used to train with a sharp blade, and now I train with a dull blade just for safety. Okay, next what I want to do is talk about taking the sword out of the saya. Now, when you pull it out, the tendency is to yank the sword out, and then that puts a lot of pressure along the scabbard or along the saya. So what you want to do is you want to get very sensitive to, this is the mune of the blade, the back, the non-sharp part. So what you want to first do before you do anything with the sword, you want to get used to pulling the sword out and keeping the mune against the back of the saya. So when you're pulling it out, you want it to go perfectly along the back of the saya. And you don't want it to rattle a lot. You want to keep it right there. You don't want it to go up and down, sideways, anything. You want to just pull it out to the end of the kasaki, pull it out, and then put it back in, and then not get any dips or anything like that, so it's smooth. You can feel the whole mune against the whole saya. And you want to do that until you can do that. Don't move on. Okay, next, now we're going to put it in our obi. And the one thing you want to understand about this is the safety part is as I bring it down, that locks, see it locks the saya in position, and then if I just lift it up, see it's loose. So that's how you know you have your obi tied perfect, is when you push it down, like if you're carrying it, with the weight of your arms will lock it into place. And then if you just lift up, then you have free movement. So that's the next safety issue, is how to tie the obi to where it positions it to where it locks when you push it down. Okay, the most ergonomic way to draw the sword is in this triangle position. So if I bring my hands together, they make this triangle. So this is one arm, the other arm, and then across my chest is the other part of the triangle. So as long as I draw my sword and put it away in this triangle position, it's very ergonomic. So that's what I'm going to show you now, is how to draw the sword. Okay, the first thing new students do is they grab the sword and they pull it out. They pull it with their elbow. You don't want to pull the sword out. You want to push the sword out. Okay, depending on the style, that's going to be a little different. I'm going to show something very universal, but you push the sword out into your triangle position. Then the next thing, from this position, what you're doing is you're going to pull the saya back straight away from that position. So just straight back, okay? And then just practice doing that. Again, keeping the mune against, as you're drawing this out, keeping the mune against the back of the saya. Okay, after you get this all the way back to where your pinky hits the obi and then all the way forward, now you're ready to bring this back and keep it going. I've already drawn my sword with my hand here. So from here, you need to learn how to pull the saya off of the blade. So as it touches, the blade then moves, and then the sword comes out. Okay? Now that creates two problems. One is, as I pull this out, my hips are going to turn in a rotational manner. So what I've got to do is, as this saya comes back and hits my hips, as it comes back, I've got to apply pressure so that the sword, the saya, stays in perfect alignment with the sword. So here I'm going to push a little bit, see, to keep that in relationship. So that's very important for safety, is bringing that back. And as you bring it back, pulling, and then it hits, and then you're keeping the mouth in line with the saya, with the sword as it comes out. Okay. Okay, now the next dangerous part, probably the most dangerous part, is putting the sword back into the saya. Now the first thing I recommend is, on the end of the saya, wrapping your fingers around the mouth of the saya to where it's about maybe a quarter of an inch above. And the most important thing is you want to be able to take this thumb and pinch. See, like the old happy faces, you'd go like this. So you're pinching the sword, because a lot of students, what I see is when you first start beginning, you reach for the blade to grab the blade and put it back. And you don't want to, obviously you don't want to do that, because you can grab the top of the blade. So that's why you never want to reach away from this position. So you want to hold this down and pinch. And to practice that, you just put the sword on top and you pinch. You just pinch the blade. You just pinch the blade so that you've got a hold of the blade. Okay? So you just hold that blade, hold that blade right on top of the saya, just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is learn how to just ride this across your hand, just like this. Ride this across your hand. And again, I'm pinching it here, and riding it across. And then you'll feel it go across that skin in the web of your hand, okay? And then right when you get to there, so you're going to go along here, you're going to ride across that skin, and then you're going to bring the saya into alignment with the sword. And then you're going to slide it back on. So you're going to pull it out, all the way out, and then you're going to put it back on. Now, one of the things you have to watch out for is when you're pulling it out, the most common mistake people make is they bend it like this. They bend this, which obviously the tip of the sword is going to break through the saya, and then your hand is right over here, so it's going to cut right into your hand, okay? And that's why you do not want to lever this thing. You want to pull it out until you feel it drop. See that little dropping feeling? That's what you want to feel for, because now you know you're out before you take it forward, okay? Okay, now that we have the saya in the belt, now what we're going to do is we're going to push this hand out, push this hand out. See how that makes a triangle? So with both arms extended, there's a triangle there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw the sword out and put the sword back within that triangle, okay? So let me just quickly show you this. We're going to draw it out, See how that stays within the triangle? Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, extending the sword out just like this, I'm going to start pulling this left hand back, and it's going to take the saya off of the sword. So I'm going to pull it back and practicing putting it back on. Okay, pull it back and put it back on. Now, once you get that done, now I'm going to turn to the side, because once my pinky hits my obi right there, I'm going to continue that motion, and pull out till it drops. And you need to feel that dropping sensation. Now, the hardest thing about doing that is obviously when this is coming back, your hips are rotating, so see how it puts pressure on the blade? Well, you don't want any lateral pressure on the blade. So as this comes back, I'm going to actually push force against the mouth here and push it towards my center line to make up for the pressure that I'm going to create as the blade, it wants to go, my saya wants to go that way and my blade's going that way. So I'm going to put just enough pressure to keep the blade in alignment with the sword. Just like that. Okay. So we're going to keep just enough alignment. And then just practice that so you get the sensation of how much you have to push in to make up for the twisting sensation of your hip. Okay, so now the sword is out and you need to put it away. Now, again, I'm going to do this from the side view, but the first thing you do is you get your mouth, or you get your hand over the mouth of the saya, just like that, okay? Now, you're going to set this blade on your shoulder. Okay, so in my triangle position, we're going to set that sword there. Now, I'm going to come out and pinch the blade, okay, to hold it just for safety. Pinch the blade, okay. Now, I'm going to let this fall off of my shoulder, and then the saya went out in this plane, it's going to go back in the same plane. Okay, so from here, it's going to fall off my shoulder, and it's pushing against my knuckles so that it doesn't fall off, okay? So it's about 45-degree angle, or maybe 30-degree angle. So as it comes off of my shoulder, I pull my saya straight back. Now that's as far as I hit the hips. Instead of reaching with my arm, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rest of the motion with my hip. And see how that's just a little motion. From here, just that much motion puts it in alignment. Now, as a beginner, you're not going to do that. You're going to come back. The tendency is to come back and then go down. That takes a lot. You've either got to bring the sword in a line, or you've got to bring that in a line. And that's okay in the beginning, but you want to work to where you are drawing this back so that very little motion is utilized to put the sword back. Okay, now we're going to put it all together. So we're going to reach out with our triangle. We're going to draw back, draw the sword out. We're going to put it back. So here, so again, with the triangle, it's out, draw the sword, put it away. Now here, we're going to bring it to here, not reach, we're going to just pinch and then bring it forward. So everything stays in the triangle. So I hope this helps you with your ergonomics and safety before you're able to find a good qualified sword instructor. Thank you very much.